guessed that Sonic the Hedgehog would eventually become a cinematic sensation? Of course, everyone knows him as the poster boy of Sega and was once Mario's biggest rival, but his jump to the big screen was undeniably an adventure equally as memorable as some of his best games. At first, he did scare the public with a possible, realistic look.
Meow?
But unlike many other feature films, the Blue Blur did not want to disappoint, and at the cost of a slight delay of its release so that he could get a new look, the movie became the final theatrical hit before the pandemic took over, and became part of a new era of movies based on video games that might actually be worth watching.
Oh, crap!
More or less. I remember back in early 2020 when I got the chance to check this movie out and see if I can enjoy this as much as I did with some of the games. And I must say, it was alright. I mean, there are stuff that I thought was really good, like the CG and Sonic's look is fantastic, the action scenes are amazing, and Jim Carrey going back to doing what he does best is always a blast to watch.
I look at you, evil grows in me.
Maybe it's because I've seen so many of these kinds of movies, but it's hard for me to not look past the recycled tropes and the tiresome plotline that ultimately makes this a rather generic family flick about an average guy who teams up with a title supernatural creature and forms a bond with it while also gets tangled up in his mess with humor that is usually a hit and miss. It doesn't help either that with James Marsden as the human lead, this is like if you take Hop but switch the Easter Bunny with Sonic.
Okay, let's drop this increasingly humiliating topic of conversation. Bucket list, give it to me!
I'm not calling this a bad movie at all. In fact, I actually do understand why it does have the fan base that it is today. Especially with the fact that, well, this is a film adaptation of Sonic the Hedgehog. It's just that I personally find that while it is entertaining, it's just not really a great movie. I think in my review of the first film, I gave it like a 6 out of 10, you know? It was just passable. In fact, I'll just say this, like, get that out of the way, that my hot take with Sonic the Hedgehog is that I personally prefer Detective Pikachu over Sonic because at least with Detective Pikachu, that is able to stand out more with the way that it nails its world building with how they brought the world of Pokemon to life. But either way, it doesn't really matter what I personally think about Sonic the Hedgehog or anything like that, considering that the first movie, well, it turned out to be a big hit. So, of course they would go and make a sequel. I'm not gonna lie, even if I didn't view the first film highly, I was pretty hyped for the sequel, because it looked like they were going to emphasize more of what made its predecessor really enjoyable. More time with Sonic, more time with the lore of the games, now with the Master Emerald in play, more time with Jim Carrey's chaotic acting, and more action-packed moments for Sonic to run at ridiculous speeds. And just like the games, the sequel characters are making their big screen debut to add some extra spice to the picture, such as Tails, and the one with the Master Emerald himself,
Sonic, meet Knuckles.
If there is one thing that people really do appreciate from the original, it's how it is able to listen to its audience in order to deliver the best experience that it could offer. In fact, one reason why it became so successful in the first place is because of the redesign, where they changed up Sonic's look to become a bit more familiar and look a lot more likable, compared to last time, where he looked like... Who knows? Maybe they'll do the same thing here, where they will go and take note of the criticisms from the first film, and they will go and improve upon that in order to make the sequel possibly better than the original. And if this is something that the filmmakers have actually done with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, then I must say that we're probably going to be in for something really special here. The best way to summarize the picture is that this is a treasure hunt movie. Sonic teams up with Tails, who just teleported to Earth, in order to find the Master Emerald before it gets in the hands of Dr. Robotnik and his new partner Knuckles. Sounds like a pretty simple storyline, but that's because that's the most that this movie offers in terms of a story. Don't come in expecting this to be a straightforward movie because whatever narrative it holds is almost non-existent. Yes, there technically is a plot with a mission and a conflict, but this film kinda just gives up on trying to tell a story and shows a series of crazy events that ultimately lead to the big battle at the end. In fact, a good amount of the moments in the film just spontaneously happen with little to no explanation. Almost like the movie was making things up on the spot in order to find new obstacles for Sonic and Tails to get themselves in. As much as I would like to provide some examples, a lot of these would most likely be spoilers, and even if I do explain them, they're the kind that you would not expect to happen in this film, let alone from something out of Sonic. In fact, it's pretty rare for the movie to take a minute to give any context to what's going on, and that's usually reserved for the essential elements that relate to the goal of getting the Master Emerald or the CG characters. The rest is just a bunch of cliched moments that just tell its audience to just roll with it, regardless if it's even necessary to include to the picture. And because of that attitude throughout the entire film, it honestly makes it one of the stupidest features in recent years. And you know what? That is the key to what makes this movie great. I know you're probably shocked when I said that it's stupid, but it knows very well that it's stupid and chooses to fully embrace it. It's almost like it's aware that it doesn't have the talent to tell a solid 2-hour story. So instead of trying like before, where it results in feeling a bit generically forgettable, it throws any structure out the window just to prioritize having fun. Let's be honest, a movie based on a video game about a blue hedgehog that runs very fast and a flying fox with 2 tails who destroy robots is a ridiculous idea. As much as I may get backlash over saying this, Sonic is not a franchise that should be taken too seriously. The whole purpose for the franchise, whether it be from the games or from the movies, is about whatever people consume from it, they are having fun. And the sequel captures that beautifully. It's like if it's channeling Jim Carrey's manic energy and uses that to set the mood, which is how the tone is also what makes this very engaging. It's aware that the scenes are already absurd as is, but instead of trying to make sense of them for the sake of the plot, they double down to find what else they can do in order to get even more ridiculous so that the audience can enjoy the moment. And never once does the mood feel corporately manufactured where they have to include branding for something like Olive Garden. Unlike this review, which is sponsored by Brevity, with its lightweight design, special compartments, and the choice of 11 different colors, you can carry as much as you want and still run around like Sonic. And if you go to brevite.co/electricdragon505 or use the promo code electricdragon10, you can receive 10% off your first purchase. A deal that is as awesome as watching Sonic 2. Which, even if there are cliches or dumb moments that would normally be irritating and set back any other movie, the tone makes it excusable and even turned that into a positive. With this kind of writing, it's kind of expected that they would have these tropes, so the execution makes the most out of them and fill them with some of the cheesiest humor to the point where they're turning the movie into the 1993 cartoon series. If you don't want to be a proper movie, then at least make what you're offering enjoyable, and that is exactly what it managed to accomplish.
You're no match for me. I've been training for this my entire life.
And I have no training at all, yet here I am ahead of you. That's gotta be embarrassing.
I will say that my one criticism with this is that it does happen when the running time does take a bit of a toll, since this is technically over 2 hours long. As fun as these scenes can be, there are times when the continuous wacky nature and weird surprises can feel a little exhausting. I'm not saying that it can feel like an eternity, it probably would have been solved if it just cut off 20 or even just 10 minutes, but there was a part of me that did get excited for the credits to roll just so that I can have a moment to breathe. It comes to a certain point where there's just so much energy I could take. Now, I just want to clarify right now that this does not mean that I think this is a so bad it's good movie. I mean, sure, there are ways that you can enjoy this in the same style that you would with a so bad it's good movie. And yeah, I do have some problems with it. Like, I do think that, well, the script is not really all that great, but that doesn't mean that I think this movie is bad in any way, shape, or form. Far from that, actually. Now, you remember what I said before in regards to possibly taking notes about the problems with the first movie so that they could go and improve upon that here? Well, it really does feel that way with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, where they listened to what is it that they liked and disliked about the first, and they certainly gave less about what people didn't like from before, and they gave us so much more of what made the first movie really enjoyable. As nonsensical as this can be, the one thing that it stays consistent is how it does try to care about the world building, clarifying the importance of the Master Emerald, its history, and what are Tails and Knuckles' connection to all of what is happening. While there is a clear link between the games and this, the lore is loosely based so that there is also a connection between this and its predecessor. Funny enough, I feel like the more it separates itself from the real world, the better and more immersive it is, because it allows the feature to really play with its creativity and doesn't need to rely on that crutch of the having the supernatural creature be on Earth trope. It gives the team and the audience time to indulge on the fantastical elements so that we can learn more about Sonic and where he's from. It's a lot more interesting for us to experience his world than it is to see Sonic experience ours. Also, it goes without saying that the visual effects are absolutely stunning. Considering that this requires more than just Sonic, Eggman's robots, and the other typical CG setups like the real-world backgrounds, the team really outdid themselves to play a lot with the characters and their unique abilities. Not to mention how some of the environments, especially the temple that holds the Master Emerald, is beautifully detailed, where some actually do combine the look of a real ancient ruin and something that came from a Sonic game. But the true crowning achievement of the movie and its visuals is the action scenes. All jam-packed with many amazing and intense moments that can easily get its viewers on the edge of their seats. Rather it be the fights with Sonic and Knuckles, the chases to escape Eggman's wrath, or that major climax, it knows how to keep the pace high in order to have the experience be exciting, especially with its unpredictable nature, where you never know what the characters will do in the next epic moment. But if I do have to point to one significant reason for its crazy tone to work so well, it's because it's noticeable that the actors are having a lot of fun. Yes, I'm sure a lot will talk about how Jim Carrey is back doing his signature chaotic acting, and it does add to the fun. But like I said, the whole feeling of the movie channels his acting. So I'd argue that there can be some moments that can even overshadow his performance. But still, if you want to see Jim going crazy, this will satisfy your needs. But the true standout stars of the film are the voices of the otherworldly characters, including Ben Schwartz as Sonic, Idris Elba as Knuckles, and Colleen O'Shaughnessy maintaining her position as the current true voice of Tails. They all do a great job to emphasize their personalities, like Sonic being the charismatic wisecracker that wants to be a hero, Tails is the tech expert that is also a big fan of Sonic, and Knuckles is the more brawn than brain that is committed to finding the Master Emerald. As it is primarily about them, they carry the heart of the picture as much as the action. To stay with the cheesy mood, this does have the typical morals about when it's the right time to be a hero and how it's best to work as a team instead of being alone. But the relationship that the characters have with each other does work where the actors' performances do help to solidify its emotional core.
Trust me, there will come a moment when your powers will be needed. But you don't choose that moment. That moment chooses you.
I just got goosebumps.
I also want to add that some of the live actors also did pretty well. Of course, you got James Marsden being Sonic's straight man as Donut Lord and Lee Majdoub having a crush on Robotnik as Agent Stone. But there are also a few pleasant surprises, like Tika Sumpter having more to work with as Maddie, and Natasha Rothwell as Rachel, who probably has some of the best non-Sonic moments. I won't say what they are, but let's say that she proves that the movie doesn't necessarily need CG to make things go wild. This is such a weird case for a feature. I mean, I get it. I understand that this is technically not a great movie in the traditional sense. Some of the criticisms against it, I actually do understand. And I have mentioned some before, like, I do see how the script can be a little bit messy per se. However, I cannot deny that when I was watching it on the big screen, like when I went to theaters watching Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I had an absolute blast. I had a wonderful time watching it. So much so that I was able to go and look past some of the problematic elements and just indulge in whatever craziness it wants to go and offer me. And at that point, if that is able to give me a lot of entertainment and to come out with a smile at the end of all of it, then it must have done something right. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is one of the stupidest and craziest movies in recent years, and that's what makes it so much better than the first film. Yes, the story often makes no sense at all, and it's probably a little too long than it should be, but what makes this movie work is that you could tell that everyone making this had fun. The actors all had fun with their performances, the filmmakers all had fun when producing this, and the visual effects artists all had fun bringing this to life. And as a result, the audience has fun when watching it and doesn't have that sour sense of feeling manufactured to capitalize on the success of the first. And with the addition of factors that are well done, like solid acting, great looking visuals, and engaging action, they all result in a feature that defines a fun-filled experience. Regardless of what you think of Sonic, rather if you're a big fan of the games or not that familiar with him, this is worth checking out if you ever just need a good time. As for my rating, I honestly thought hard about it, but honestly, I'm giving this a 7.5 out of 10. Maybe not the best movie I've seen, but definitely one of the most enjoyable ones I've experienced. I'm not gonna lie, trying to figure out the right rating that perfectly reflects my thoughts on the whole feature, it was seriously tough. Like, that was possibly the hardest part about making this entire review. Because for a while, I was actually contemplating either giving this a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. Because I keep on juggling on the different factors about how I feel about this movie. Rather it be about my thoughts on the film itself, like in terms of what I think of the quality of it, and also my experience when watching the film, because I could say right now, those two things are completely different, and I could actually give a different rating for each of those things. However, after some long and careful thought, I decided, you know what, instead of just 7 or just 8, why don't we just go and split it down the middle? Because I feel like it actually feels right to go and say that this is a 3 stars out of 4 movie, you know? It feels right for me. I feel like that does reflect both how I feel when watching it and what I think of the movie itself. However, there is one thing that I do have to say. Like, even if this rating doesn't necessarily sound magnificent, or it doesn't necessarily sound like something I would say like, oh, at the end of the year I'll say that this is among my top 10 best or whatever, this whole experience of when I went to go and watch Sonic 2, it's probably the best that I've had in a long time. Like, this was honestly the most fun that I've had when watching a movie on the big screen in years. And I know there are probably some factors about it, like it's rare nowadays that I would go and watch a movie on the big screen for obvious reasons, but still, it doesn't change how I've had just an absolute blast watching it. And it's all because, well, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 wasn't trying to be a good movie. It was trying to have a lot of fun. And because it succeeded in having a lot of fun, that's what makes Sonic the Hedgehog 2 a good movie. See you later, dudes!
I just got goosebumps. Wait a second, did you steal that from Oprah?